Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Good to have you here. This is going to be the first lesson in which we're going to be looking at Illustrator. And Illustrator is a very versatile tool. It can be used for many different things, but right now we're actually just going to be looking at how to create some different shapes, how to put them in different layers, and then also how to use Pathfinder, because with it we will be able to make the shapes which are extremely precise to send towards the laser cutter and to actually use that fancy piece of equipment. So we'll just start out with creating a new file, and it's quite a similar interface as you've also seen for Photoshop. So where we can find it is we just go towards File to the top left, click on it, click on New, and then we get this drop-down menu in which we can give several different parameters. Now I'm not going to be looking at something very specific over here, except for the unit which we're using for our width and our height of our document. Now, I don't want it to be in pixels. I want it to be a little bit more realistically in millimeters, because eventually you're also going to be creating things in millimeters yourself. So let's just click on that, millimeters. Let's imagine we have a piece of wood at about 200 millimeters wide and about 100 millimeters high. This would be quite realistic because we've got a lot of these pieces of wood in the cupboards in the classroom as well. So if we just click on OK right now, it will open up a file. You can see we have a blank sheet in front of us right now. Now you might have a slightly different workspace than I have. This is my personal computer, so it's maybe in a different language. You may see some buttons at different locations, and so just to make sure that your interface is just as similar, or well, more similar to what I've got, is I want you to go towards Window at the top, and go towards Workspace, and then make sure that you've got something which is similar to tracing. Because, for instance, if I would have a typography, something like that, you can see that everything kind of changes around. Automation, once again, a very different interface. Well, I want you to definitely have something very similar to tracing, because then I can see the layers over here. I can see Pathfinder, this icon over here, and I've also got some different tools to the left which I will be using as well. Alright, okay, so let's get started. The first thing I want to show you is that we can create shapes in several different ways. So we can create different shapes, and we can do it very precisely, or we can do it very roughly by just clicking and dragging. Now the first one I'll show you is, well, first of all, this thing over here, this ellipse tool. Or if it's a little bit different from yours, it could be, for instance, the rectangular tool over here. You can just right click on it and select one of these different shapes over here. Let's imagine I want to just grab the rectangle tool first of all. Now what I can do is I can click with my left mouse button, click and drag, then I can see I can create this rectangular object. Now if I release it, you will also see, and you can't really see it immediately, but at the layers to the bottom right, we can see that within layer 1, if I drop it down at this little arrow over here, I have a rectangle. I can create another one, create another one, create another one, and there we have it. So different rectangles within layer 1. Now let's imagine I want to actually create a rectangle which is exactly, well, let's say 2 millimeters high and maybe about 12 millimeters wide. Well, could I do that? Could I do it very easily by just clicking and dragging? Well, no, not really, because you're not really seeing the dimensions of your rectangle. So do we have another way? Well, yeah, we do. It's very simple. We can just left click with our mouse once, and that would mean press and release immediately. And if I do that, click, then you can see that I get this kind of like a menu in which I can give the different parameters for my rectangle. And let's say I want it to be exactly 12 millimeters wide. Press on Tab to go towards the next cell, and 2 millimeters high, and I just have to press on OK, and there we have it. So, as you can see, Illustrator is very handy for getting the exact dimensions you want. Alright? So what can we do besides just creating these rectangles? Well, we can also just go towards our shapes over here, right click, so get a drop down menu, go towards the ellipse tool, click on that one, then you can see you've got that one selected, the ellipse tool. And I could create a circle. Let's imagine I want to have a perfect circle of about 30 millimeters wide and 30 millimeters high. Could I do that? Well, once again, yeah. Just click with the left mouse button, fill in your parameters, do it for both the width and the height, press on OK, and there we have it. Alright. So let's imagine I want to have things a bit more organized. I've got some different shapes and different layers because I have a very, very big project, and it's becoming quite untidy if I've got all of these different shapes in the same layer. Could I do that? Well, yes, I can. What I want to do is I want to go towards my layer menu, click on this button over here for creating a new layer, and if I do that, I get a second layer which I can also start filling up with different shapes. So can I create more shapes? Yes, I can. Like a polygon over here, over there again, etc., etc. And I can see within this layer, if I drop it down, that I have these different shapes in here. Now let's imagine I made a mistake somewhere. Could I go back? Well, yes, I can. Very similar to Photoshop, but it's slightly different. You just press on Control, keep it held down, and tap on Z. So Control Z for going back. And you can do this multiple times as you see fit. Okay. Now we're arriving at something else. I just want you to see it yourself once, which is the following. If I have, for instance, a rectangular object like that over there, and I have a rectangular object like that over there, and I can see, or you know what, I'm just going to make it a little bit more obvious with an ellipse over here. Now you can see that I've got this circular object on top of the rectangular object over there. So what would happen if I grab my selection tool and I click this and I go over it? Will I still see that vertical line going up and down? Well, I'll just release it and you see that it kind of disappears. And why would that be? Well, the reason for that is that if I look at this object specifically, this shape over here, it has a kind of fill. It's this fill over here. If I double click it, then I get this menu in which I can also change the color. I could say, for instance, I want it to be red, then we'll fill it up with red. So right now, if I just press on Ctrl Z, it will go back to its original white fill. But it is completely filled with white. Alright? Let's imagine I want that to be gone. Well, could we do that? Yes, we can. We can remove the fill by making sure that we have that one selected over there, and then click on None. So if I do that, this thing is completely transparent. It has no fill anymore, and then we can also see the pieces beneath. Alright, so with that being said, this one still has a fill, as you can see. I can click on that button once again. So have no fill at all. So if I would then have, for instance, a little star underneath this path, this rectangle, if I just click and drag it, put it underneath, will I still see it? Well, yes, I will, simply because this rectangular object has no fill, it is transparent, and so I can see the object which is beneath our actual rectangle over here. Alright. Okay, so we have seen how to create different shapes, how to create them very precisely by just clicking somewhere and giving the different parameters. We have seen that we can create different layers over here. We can also see that we can change the hierarchy of where these layers are, or sorry, where these objects are. And so they can overlap each other. We can also see that we can remove the fill. And now the last thing I want to show you is the Pathfinder tool. Now it's a little bit hidden away. You'll have to have this icon over here. Click on it and you'll get a different menu coming up. Now what I want you to see is, I'll just remove all of these first of all. Just selected them and pressed on delete. I want to create let's say a kind of like a rectangular object over here. And I want to have something exactly like 25 by 25. I want it to cut away exactly on this side. Let's imagine I want to just place it there, but I want to get that piece over here to cut away from that bigger rectangle over there. So I will only have this kind of like a C shape afterwards. Okay. How would we do that? Well, right now I've got this one selected, as you can see, because it's highlighted with a little bit of blue, and you see that this circle over here is also a little bit different. That means it is selected. Okay. What I want to do is I want to have a second shape also selected, which is going to be cuts away from. Now, the way to do this is by just having my selection tool selected, and then clicking and dragging, and then I've got both of them selected at once. Now what I would do right now is I go towards Pathfinder, and I look for the shape, or the icon I should say, which will do what I want it to do. I want this piece to cut away from something that's underneath. And if I look in these icons, I can see that this is the one that fits this job, because the one which is on top over here is transparent. It is cutting away from the one that is underneath. So if I just click on this, will it do that? Well, yes, it will, because this smaller rectangle is on top, this bigger rectangle is below, it fits the icon, and so click on it, and there we have it. It actually cuts away from the bigger rectangle. Now, let's imagine we want to add kind of like a little circle, half a circle at the top. Could we do that? Well, yeah, we can. Right click on the shapes, go towards the ellipse tool, click and drag, something like that. Now we have the ellipse tool creating a circle, which is now shown in the layer menu to the bottom right. And let's imagine I want to have these united in a certain way, that they're combined to form one full shape. Could we do that? Well, yeah, we can. We can just grab a selection tool, and then we can click and drag and select both of them, and then go towards the symbol, which is going to be uniting them. Now, I'll make a mistake here, so you can see that you could also make a wrong choice and then just go back. Let's imagine I think this is the unite tool. Well, it isn't. Well, if I do that, we'll grab the overlapping parts, and you'll see that only that part remains. Oh, I made a mistake. I can go back, Ctrl Z. Now, which one will be the uniting tool? Well, this one over here. As you can see, it now unites the shapes completely. Now, okay, I'm just going to show you that we could also see that we have some shapes in there which we don't want to select. Let's imagine I've got a couple of circles in here which are in the way, and I want to just add another circle over here. So that this one unites once again with this bigger thing over here. Now, if I select this, all of this, and I have all of this selected and go towards Pathfinder, and for instance say go for the overlapping, and just the intersection, I want that to remain, then it will give me an error, because it says actually over here that you can only have two shapes selected. Now, the easy way to do this is to just go towards the selection tool. You're just going to deselect them by clicking elsewhere, and then I want to have Shift pressed on my keyboard. Then I can just click on the separate shapes I want to have selected. And right now, with Shift and clicking with my mouse, I select specifically what I want, and then I can start uniting them with Pathfinder. Now it won't give me an error because I've only got two actual shapes selected. Alright, so now it actually works out perfectly. So ladies and gentlemen, we have seen how to create different shapes. We've seen that we can remove the fill over here as well. We have seen that we can remove where they are in the layer menu, which is important for the different icons of our Pathfinder. We have seen that we can create these objects very accurately by just clicking and getting a certain dimension, whatever you might want to have. We can also actually combine them very easily with Pathfinder. Let's imagine I want to have both of these combined. Just get this one selected. Sorry about that. It has no fill, so I couldn't select it very easily. And then just combine them with Shift clicks, and then combine them with Unite. There we have it. I want you to try all of this out. I'm going to be asking you to reproduce these steps when you're done. So just bring your laptop when you're thinking you're confident about all the criteria, and then I'll see you at my desk. Good luck, ladies and gentlemen. You can do it.